everything well in Puerto Rico. So I gotta do this because I do this with all my wine gods. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
We're doing fine. Thank you for being with us. I've been, following your wines for a while. And about, I guess, 8, 9 months ago, I did an interview with Donald. He works with you. So I was really blown away by these wines. I mean, they're amazing. I was expecting, I don't know, bold, big wines, but they're more nuanced, and it's sort of a curveball of wines. It's a whole range, right? And we'll get to that in a bit. But first, I really have to ask you, how are you guys on the west side of the country with all the fires? Have you been affected in Washington?
No, I mean we're far north of Oregon and Washington. I think the closest vineyard I had to any fire was like 200 miles. So although the air looked at sometimes pretty unbeautiful, there was really no impact whatsoever. I mean I think the conversation is completely a zero conversation. We're fortunate. I mean, it could be our time in the future, but one thing that we have fortunate here is, we're in a high desert in eastern Washington. So, we have grass, sand, rocks, and gravel. And we're not right up next to forested areas. So I don't think we're ever going to really see a big impact of fires in Washington State.
Well, I'm glad to.
We're very fortunate. Unfortunately for our friends south in Oregon and California, it's been a very difficult year.
I'm glad to hear that, Charles. So let's go to your career for a little bit, because you have this past in music, which is great. And first, before we get into those years, I would like to ask you if growing up you were exposed to wine in your family dinner table sort of thing.
Well, that would have been great. It would have been a great story if that was the case. But truly not. My parents weren't together since I was like 4 years old. But my mother, when I spent time with her, she set a really good table with food being very savory, aromatic, in a really warm room with friendship, family, aunts, uncles, friendship. So really, I think that heart and my approach to wine actually came from by way of the family, the friends, the warm environment, the savory smells in the air. And I think that informed me later to my wine life.
Did you grow up on the western part of the country?
Yeah, I'm actually from Sacramento, California. So I'm originally from Northern California, which, of course, the closest wine region to where I'm from is El Dorado and Amarillo County, which goes back to the gold rush period in California, which actually made everybody want to go out west. And but that's where they grow Zinfandel, Barbera, and really old vine Zinfandel. And for me, that's kind of part of my heart, is that wine should be super delicious drink, not too serious. Put it on the table, share it generously with friends, and walk away with a head full of wine, a stomach full of food, and lay your head on your pillow with a head full of dreams.
I love those postings that you make every Friday that say it's Friday, act like it. I love that. And part of it is like filling your head with wine.
Well, the idea is, it's like, let's dream a little bit. Let's live with our heart. Let's engage, and if we're going to do it, let's do it.
Yeah. So going back to those formative years, can you recall a wine that really blew you away, that knocked your socks off? Do you have that first love, that first unicorn of a wine?
I do, and the thing is, I mean, to tell, I can tell something that might be more familiar with folks, but to tell my true story, I was working at this small wine bar. I was 22 years old in Sacramento, California. There was this couple. He was a small guy, thin. His wife, tall, big, lovely, big smile, lovely people, big heart. And they made homemade wine, actually from the Amador County, outside of Sacramento, the Sierra foothills. And they come to this little wine bar with magnums of wine that they made of their own home wine. And I can tell you, this wine was delicious. It had the love, the heart, the soul. And when I tasted this wine, it embodied everything I felt emotionally, what wine should be, which is a completely satisfying, not here, but here. Yeah. And I cannot remember their names. I mean, I can see their faces in front of me. I mean, we got to go a lot of years back to see that. But their wine was truly the one that said that, even if I did something very modest, and I did this would be a life well lived.
It's incredible how wine is so contextual. Because I'm a lawyer, I'm an attorney. Don't hold that against me. I've had really simple.
Not you sue me.
I've had no. Whenever I say to friends, I'm a lawyer, they say, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. But what I want to tell you is, I've had wines that are really super expensive with the wrong crowd. People that are, I guess, talking about how much money they make and what have you, and that's horrible. But then I've had $8 bottles of wine with my friends watching, I guess, football or something, or listening to music, and those are the wines that you take to your heart. So maybe that's what happened to you with this couple.
It is. It simply is. I already had an interest in wine, but the wine just spoke to me in a great way. That was probably the one that cemented the emotional attachment, but probably the first wine where I realized, I really saw the purpose of wine. I was working, I was a migrant restaurant worker. I worked winters in Palm Springs, California, and summers in Lake Tahoe or Napa Valley, California, going back to 1980. And I worked at this old continental dining place. So for those who don't know, that style was where you would have a maitre d', a captain, a front waiter, a back waiter, and a busboy. And it was this, very long, drawn-out dinner, but in a big dining room with, really opulent table-side service, older waiters with tuxedos and the whole thing. And the thing is, in the waiter station, they always kept 3 or 4 wines that were poured by the glass. And I remember some of these guys, Ignacio, Nacho, Arturo, Aragon. I mean, these guys were in their 50s, 60s. I remember this is when I was a 19, 20-year-old man. And I still remember their faces and their names today. And then the back waiter station, they had bottles of wine that were poured by the glass. They'd have to get from the back bar. And in there, they had this old winery called Parducci from California. And, they didn't make great wine. They made very certain wine. There was an old winery, and there was Parducci Sauvignon Blanc. And I remember all night long, these guys would just help themselves to as many glasses as they wanted of this wine. Fresh, white, minerally refreshing white wine. And it was, really cheap wine. I mean, not only quality, but cheap. And I remember the idea of having wine as this refreshing beverage, to sneaking a glass, to going out and having service, and all night you would continue to drink it, and the wine was so serviceable. So between that idea of that wine should just be infinitely pleasant to drink, and this idea of this thing that this married couple that you would see as an odd couple, but they were the least odd couple of all, super lovely, beautiful, making this wine that had a passion for it, that you put it in your mouth and go, I understand everything about this. That's it.
I love it. Take me to those years when you were involved in the music business, because I really like that part of your career, and you did some traveling. Can you take me to those years?
Sure. Well, in 1990, I moved to Copenhagen, Denmark from Seattle, Washington, and the whole early Seattle thing was happening, and I felt I knew there was something happening here emotionally. So I moved there, and I had a very strong wine background. We don't have to go into all that. I mean, I was wine director for Ritz-Carlton hotels and et cetera, et cetera. Very, very strong wine background. And I wrote every importer in Denmark, and no one would offer me a job. 23 importers, and even one of them, and they all, because it's Denmark, so they're all really polite, and they all send you their rejection letter that says, thank you for applying, but we have no job for you today. Mm-hmm. And one of them wrote me, and I've been in Denmark for 2 weeks, and one of them wrote me, in Denmark we speak Danish, which I thought was really uncool in general, but for Danes, that's not typical for somebody to say that, because Danish people are really lovely. Actually, I went on to get a job because I needed extra to eat. And but I'll tell the story. But the one thing I want to say is I actually have all the rejection letters in a box in my house. I can write actually 2 rooms down, bundled up. I have all 24 rejection letters with that rejection letter telling me in Denmark we speak Danish right on the top.
That's so cool.
For them, I kind of like to sometimes write them all thank you letters. So thank you for not hiring me, because it worked out really well in the end.
It did.
Okay, but so long story short, you asked me about the music thing. So at that time, I moved to Copenhagen. I was living on the mainland of Denmark. I moved to Copenhagen. I needed to get a job. So I started bartending at a place that it was like a rock and roll. It's called Tex Hot and Rock Cafe, and it was rock and roll music. It was 1990. All the beautiful dames, boys and girls. Of course, everybody's good looking in Denmark, tall, beautiful, fit, and they could drink like incredible amounts of alcohol. They'd come in at night and hang out to 5 o'clock in the morning. So I was bartending, then I started being a manager, and I suggested we should have live music there. And I said I could get it all set up, and with the guys who owned the restaurant and was in the bar, they said, okay, that's cool. So I did that, and within 3 months, the place became the most popular place, nightly to go to hear bands, hang out, be rock and roll, and so forth. And after about 6 months, I realized that working there was not really working out for me, and I decided to leave. And so some of the bands that were playing there said, well, you helped start a career. Why don't you be our manager? And therefore, that's where I started, managing bands. So it was basically, one door open, one door closed. I eventually did this. I found myself, touring around the world, never making any money, really, so to speak. Could, pay my rent, have a good time, put clothes on my back, pay the utility bills.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of great shows. Like I said, toured all over the world, and that was really about it. But it really informed me to what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
I realized all those experiences and some of the idea of getting the word out and communicating the language of music, and now communicating the language of wine to everyone, regardless of whether you speak the language or not. And so doing the music thing really informed me that yes, I have lots of great stories.
No, I bet they're probably of all range.
Cars, broken bottles, sleeping in, staying up all night, traveling around, having fun with people that I don't even know how to speak the same language, waking up in places I didn't know I was going to wake up in, but actually glad I did most of the time.
Did you get to travel to wine regions around that time for music, and then you would, take advantage of the trip and drink some of the stuff?
No, I never really been to that far when I was doing the music thing. I mean, I was known for, because I love to cook, I was known with, bands I would tour with that, instead of getting a buyout from some concert where I'd say, hey, do you have a kitchen? And give me the money, and I'd say, where do you know some good stores? I'd go find a wine shop, meat store, vegetable, cheese. I'd come back, I'd cook the band dinner with really great wine, and this is one of the things I did when I was on the road was I made sure that even when we were far away, it was always just in somebody else's kitchen. Sometimes like the way I do my own kitchen and cook the food and the drink that we wanted to. So I shopped in Barcelona, Nice, Milan,
Those outdoor markets are lovely. I mean, they have the best produce, and they're so, I guess, autochthonous. I mean, they're a way of knowing the land, if you will. So let's get into the wines. I have 4 wines. You're represented by Fernandez Hermanos, which is the oldest wine shop importer here in Puerto Rico. They have an incredible portfolio. And I had been reading about your wines, the K, the ubiquitous K, if you will, with all the highest scores. There was a time when I was reading wine magazines a lot. I was chasing points for a while and, looking for the scores and what have you. Like, I'm a little different now. But I would always see this K with the highest ratings. And then my good friend Andres Lugo, he's the head or the De Fernandez portfolio. And, he told me we're bringing the Charles Smith wines. And that's when I met Donald. I tried your wines. I was blown away. So we have 4 wines here, a white and 3 reds. I'm going to start off with this CH for Chardonnay from Wines of Substance. What can you tell me about this this wine, Charles?
Well, it's in my glass, which is very fortuitous. Because actually, I was like pretty excited. So I poured all the wines out. The idea here was, I think everybody would, wants to drink, everyone's drinking, of course, the best wine they can. The idea was here for this project was to be the quintessential, super superior quality wine for the price, and looking for sites that actually had a very strong terroir imprint, like really great soils. So one vineyard is basalt, one vineyard is limestone, one vineyard is chalk. Combining the 3 create this incredible aromatic, I mean, really super complex, delivering a texture that is, really pleasant and leading to a finish that is, complex and ultimately pleasing. The main thing to really know about my wines that I think is really important is, what's in the wine. So what's in the wine is this. Everything is farm sustainable to biodynamic, which means for people that don't know that might be listening in, we don't put any chemicals in the vineyard. Okay, so like you're not drinking any chemicals coming from the ground. It's like organic grapes, if you will. Then also in the winery, where we ferment the grapes, which basically turn the juice into wine, is we don't use any cultured yeast, so everything is actually spontaneous and native there. So essentially, the only thing that in my wine is the grapes and the vessel they're resting in.
Yeah.
Talk about purity and balance. So really, without bringing that up, is really not even to mention my wines and what I do across the board. Now, this wine, as I see it, is incredibly aromatic and beautiful. It smells very complex.
I love the fact that.
I mean, I'm supposed to say this. I mean, I could be completely full of shit, but I'm not.
No, this wine's amazing.
I mean, everybody says this about their wine, even if it's terrible. But the thing about it is, the idea is this. I make wine for the people. The thing is, this is how I make my living. If I think about what the people want, and give them 2 or 3 steps beyond what they would expect, then I'm doing the good work. Then I'm earning every dollar that I make.
Yeah.
For me, this is that my goal when I started out was very modest, and it turned out to be quite worked out better than I would ever imagine. But the idea, my dream was to make wine, and so my integrity, my heart, my integrity, and my life experience are in this glass.
D. Mangano says wine for the people. Yeah, I mean, you deliver incredible quality for the price. I mean, this wine can stand next to those very high-end Burgundy wines and what have you. But what I love about this wine is, as you said, is the balance. It has weight. It has purity of fruit. It also has that sort of acidic, citrusy, refreshing note, and it has a good finish. It's quite long on the finish, and there's very. I don't see the intrusion of oak. You're very prudent with the use of oak. Does this see any oak?
This is like 10% new oak. This is limestone, chalk, and basalt that's giving this minerality. And the thing is, the wines in 2019, it's just been really. I mean, just think about 6 months more of integration. You're only talking about 10% new wood, but it's all 100% new wood. So what happens is you're going to pick up this youngness of things that you'll get from a young wine, but the texture, the length, and the complexity, and then considering the price. I mean, I'm not here to sell the wine. We're talking about the wine, but I mean, who doesn't want wine of this caliber for half the price or even less than what you find from somebody else in the world? And then when you actually know how it's made, where there's nothing in the wine besides the grapes and the vessel they're resting in, it's like, this is what I want.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and you said that you have this passion for cooking. What would you pair this with? Let's say that a bunch of my viewers go and buy this at Almacén del Vino. They bring it home. What would you eat with this?
Well, I'm thinking I do have to cook dinner tonight still, or I may just go out. But then again, our options are a little difficult now in these times. I like really simple food with wines. So if I was going to just go into my refrigerator tonight, so I have two things. One, I would probably just pound a chicken breast, flour it, fry it. I'd probably like to do it with capers and shallots and lemon.
I just had dinner because it's 9 p.m. and my wife made chicken drumsticks with cayenne pepper and a little bit of, the spicy, the adobo, the Puerto Rican flair and spices local. And it was toasty, crunchy on the outside and, very tender inside. And it paired beautifully. I cheated. I had this 2 hours ago. And it was singing, man. It's a beautiful bottle of wine for the price. Wines of substance. Andres Lugo invited me to taste some of these wines, and we'll get to the third wine in a bit, because this for me is the best wine under $20, $21 that you find in Puerto Rico is unbelievable. But let's get to the second wine, Charles. Also, Andres gave me this blind, and he told me, guess what that is and guess the price. And to me, this wine is so fun. It's just fun. Tell me about Vino Rosso.
Well, Vino Rosso, the idea here is that I think with a name like Vino, I mean, it just says wine. I mean, that's what it means in Italian. So the idea is this should be an easy proposition. But it doesn't mean that wine should be simple. It simply means that proposition, seeing something that looks like this should say, hey, this is wine. It sounds honest. Let's drink it. But the idea here with the Vino, I also want to do something that is reminiscent of Italy, but I didn't want this to be a straight up Italian varietal wine, so I wanted to go for more like the Bulgari, more like the super Tuscan style. So this is Cabernet Sauvignon, with 30% Sangiovese from vines and sand and gravel vineyards that produce very aromatic Sangiovese.
Yes.
Is you really get a great density.
I get the herbs. Whenever I drink Sangiovese, it's rustic. It smells like the earth. It has that rhubarb, like, I don't want to say Pinot-like, but it's rustic. It's real. I mean, and it has that component of those herbs from the Sangiovese. It's very, very nice on the nose.
Yeah, it's super savory. And the thing about it is, like you were talking about, the drumstick with the adobo, how delicious that would be. And something like this would be so lovely. Because the thing is, like I said, with a name like Vino, it means it's like an instantly pleasant idea that, for drinking wine. And so for me, the Vino whole thing was, like the best glass of wine they could possibly have for the money with great purity. And, like wine, what is it? It's to drink. And this one does exactly that. The texture is lovely. It's savory. Complex.
It's very savory. Your wines are savory. Your wines, the Syrahs, are really savory. And this, my friends in Puerto Rico, Tasting Room Puerto Rico said a while ago that this is a steal, a Trojan horse. So this wine, my friends that are watching, either live or will watch a little later, you can get it at Almacén del Vino and other retail shops here for about $15, made by a man who's has really gotten the best scores in the world. This is 70% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30% Sangiovese. It's delicious. It's fresh. It's alive. It's savory. It's floral, and at the same time has that pepper, that cassis from the Cabernet. It's beautiful.
The thing is, for those that know wine really well, we know how to find a good, pure producer. Not just good wine, but we know like wines that are like farmed really, well with care and love and respect for the land and fermented with that. And so we know that. So this is, for the folks that are just listening now, and I know it sounds like we're like trying to sell wine, but actually it's not that. It's kind of like to inform. It's really to tell you, like, the fact is, you go to the store and you want organic vegetables and you want free range chicken and you want, grass-fed beef or, free range beef, and you want everything to be natural and organic. And then you go to the wine department and half the wines there have chemicals, powdered tannins, cultured yeast. It's like, how much of it is really just the grapes? My thing is, I get to do this for a living. I'm very fortunate. So the idea is when we're talking about these wines is consider that the one thing is if you're going to get something that is just pure and you happen to like the profile of the wines, this is where you should end up, And the reason why you should end up, whether it be my wines or any other producer's wines, should all be about the quality of the wines, the purity, because everybody works hard for a living, and if you're going to spend your money on something, put your money where you get it.
Thank you for that. I love the cherry that's coming up. There's this note of pine, reminds me a little bit of Christmas, and here in Christmas we eat a lot of lechon, pork, pig, and this would go really well with some roasted pig. Very, very nice. Right.
Well, I hope next year I get over to Puerto Rico because then I can have some of the roasted pig and some of this wine.
Have you ever visited? Have you ever been to the island?
Never. And the thing is, I've been speaking about it for the last week, and actually for the last month, I've been thinking it would be really great to go there because it would be so easy, and I've always had a desire to go, and now it is on my top 3 things I'm going to do in 2021.
That's awesome.
As long as we can get a treatment or what do you call it, vaccine, I'm there. So
yeah.
I hope to see you in this next coming spring.
That'd be great, Charles. Your wines have been selling really well. I mean, Almacén del Vino obviously does a brilliant job at promoting and marketing, and they have the credibility. I mean, they put out really good wines out there. And this wine has really been everywhere over this past year. This wine, when I tasted it, and then they told me the price, I was like, get out of here. This man is losing money. Oh my. Andres Lugo is giving us the thumbs up, and he says he's looking forward to your visit. He's the main man, Andres Lugo, right there.
I really want to visit. One thing is, I did the music thing, and like I said, I had a really good experience. Took away a lot of that and applied to my wine business. But the one thing is, when I started doing wine, I actually found myself traveling to places and meeting people that would never have ever had the opportunity if I wasn't doing the wine thing. Particularly, of course, first in the United States, because I travel around all the United States and visit second cities, small cities, met so many lovely people, made friends all over the country. And the thing is, and I've also been able to do the same thing internationally. So the fact to go to Puerto Rico, so a place I've never been, and I get the most easy access because I'm coming in with my wine and to meet people and do by way of that. I'm really grateful.
You would have a blast because if you're a foodie like me, I need to shed some pounds, but there's time for that. So the gastronomy here is very rich. It has influences from, Africa, Spain, of course, and even Caribbean sort of local spices and idiosyncrasy. So it's very interesting combination of textures and flavors and aromas and spices and what have you. Obviously, you have beautiful beaches, great weather all year long. You don't need a passport to travel down here. So there's Donald Black. Hey, Donald, how are you? Finally, we made it with a big man. So looking forward to seeing you. Tell me about this cab, Charles.
Well, the idea here was, everybody would like the best wine they could possibly get for the least amount of money. And the thing is, for me, is this. I'm known for making, for when I began making really high-end wines, you mentioned like high accolades and so forth. I got my first 100-point wine in 2006. But the idea is, the thing is, that's great if I make 500 cases of wine, it's a great review. But how many people will get access to what I can possibly do? So the idea was, why don't you take the same skill sets, the same heart, the same integrity, and put it in something that more people have access to. So I decided to create 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, organically farmed, 100% in barrel for 13 months, all black fruit profile, put it in barrel, dirty, sitting in the groceries, after 13 months, drying off, assembling it, and putting it in glass. And this is what you get, wines and substance Cabernet Sauvignon. 1% Cabernet Sauvignon, not just in the words where it says this, and then it happens to be 25% Syrah or something else. No, this is all Cabernet Sauvignon, delivers the smell of Cabernet Sauvignon, and the thing is, if that's your deal, that you love Cabernet Sauvignon, this is the deal. And the idea is, who doesn't want 93-point Cabernet Sauvignon for under 20 bucks? Yeah,
it's amazing. And it has the character, the variety, the typicity of the varietal. You have that mint, and you have the way Cabernet should taste, because nowadays they're making way too many pornographic Cabernets that they're like either extraction, muscle, oak. Nothing against that. There's a style for everyone. But what I love about this wine is how savory, how fresh it is, 100% Cabernet, and how gastronomic, versatile. It's very versatile and goes with so many different types of food. Like I could have this with a burger or with a nice cowboy steak. It's lovely.
Well, the thing is, we don't want wine that makes us tired. We want to make wine that inspires us for conversation. Let's put on some more music. Let's get up and dance. Let's have another bottle, right? So the idea is I want wine that actually doesn't make you fatigued, but, injects some energy into the space. And so I think it really does that. And once again, what's really important, I think, is like with the, we haven't talked too much about the labels, but the idea is the labels, like I said, are about communicating the language of everybody, being direct, not trying to be mysterious, being honest and forthwith, It's like, telling somebody you love them instead of hiding for 3 years to tell them. Just get it off your tongue and say it, because they might be waiting for you to say it.
Yeah.
So if you want to say, here's my wine, say here's my wine, and have a label like this that says here's my wine, so they can decide that, oh, I'm receptive. I've been waiting for somebody to say, here it is, I made this for you. And this is what I'm doing with my work.
So were you trying to pay homage to the periodic table, or is just the letters of Cabernet Sauvignon? Like, because you have the same pattern with the Chardonnay, CH, CS.
Well, based on something. Once again, it's about communicating the language of wine to everybody, because not everybody speaks wine. So everybody is familiar with this. So if you see this on the shelf, you're like, that was very familiar. You'd think you might have already had the wine or know the wine. Well, of course you have not. But the thing is, it looks familiar. So it's the ease of access, and it's about communicating and creating a bridge between the winemaker, myself, and the person in the end who's going to drink the wine. And so, yes, it's based on the periodic table, because it's a familiar communication that people already have their vocabulary. It's not about me. It's about the people that
the consumer. What I do, I'm not a son. I'm a consumer. Like my website, my wine channel in YouTube says, it says independent wine consumer. I'm not a reviewer. I'm obviously not a winemaker. I just consume wine. That's what I do. So, and what I love about this wine as well is that it's not sweet at all. The other day I was having different wines at this price point, and and I don't want to badmouth anyone, but they were made in a style that was very, I guess, commercially pleasing to, I guess, saturate the palate on the first sip. Wines are meant to be drunk, not rated. It's good to get ratings, of course. But what I love about this wine is that I don't want you to think that I'm a drunk, but you could finish the whole bottle in one sit down. Like, you could finish the whole thing.
You could drink 3 bottles and maybe I'll think you're drunk, but I doubt it, because we could be friends. Who's to judge, right?
Exactly.
Maybe you just were thirsty, or you just had a need. That happens sometimes. So we have the last wine, right?
Yeah, we have Lola Bertolet saying, Charles, we're looking forward to your visit to the island. Yeah, I don't want to keep you too long because you got things to do. And this is...
I can go all mezcal. We can do this all night.
I want to segue.
I can tell you how loaded I can get. It's pretty amazing.
With what you said about labels. So King Cole, tell me about this beautiful label. This is like an Aztec Mexican king and a skull. What were you going for here?
Okay, well, I started making wine from this vineyard called Stone Ridge that I was led to in 2005. The first vintage, I saw the vineyard. It was laying on the ground. The man who planted it, he had died in 2014, and I met his son in 2015. And 50 growers or winemakers had passed on the vineyard, and I kicked around the soil and said, "How much Syrah in here?" It said 9 acres. I said, "I'll take it all and be fired from their specifications." The first year, I made wine called Heart, Skull, and Oboms that were kind of in this art motif. And they got 97, 98, 99 points from Robert Parkin the first year I did that. And this is basically taking somebody's dream, and he passed away before his dream could be realized. And I made the wine, and here you go. Second year, I made the wine Royal City, thing of Syrah, and that was my first 100-point wine that I ever produced, rated, which is only one person's opinion, but it's always nice to have such flattery. But in the end, I also thought there was some Cabernet Sauvignon in the vineyard, because I contracted all 68 acres, and the idea here was to make a Cabernet Sauvignon Syrah, kind of like what you'd find down in the south of France, like with Domaine Trevelin or something of that nature. And I really like that combination. Whole berry fermented Cabernet and whole cluster with the stems for the savory character of the Syrah. And so, considering that the area is called Royal Slope, and I already had one called Royal City, and I already had a trilogy of Heart, Skull, and Oben. In the end, dealing with Cabernet Sauvignon, considering that Cabernet is king, I would call it King Cole, and I use to make a more Aztec Mayan king.
Yeah,
sense for me, and because to me this kind of wine it's so deep and dark in the profile. It's kind of like the heart of darkness. And so, considering that
it is dark, but you make dark I guess fresh. Or what I love about this wine is how it's very sort of savory. Even savory, you sort of experience that on the palate, but the nose here is it's going to be a different wine. It has olive tapenade, flowers, and then you have that violet kind of thing, and lavender, and it takes me a little bit to Rhone. But then again, you also have this sensation of power and freshness and restraint. So it's going to be a balanced wine, but it's different. I mean, it's a wine. It's a smell that you don't forget easily.
I mean, I know it's my wine, and one out of 40 bottles of wine that I drink are my own. So I don't sit around just doing my own thing all the time. And so when I come back to trying my wines or having this opportunity like we are today to taste them, and we're having a conversation, a lot of times I'm seeing it again for the first time. It's not like I just repeated. Like I did this yesterday. I didn't do this yesterday. I didn't do this last week. I haven't had this wine for 2 months. But
thank you. What an honor. Thank you, sir.
But I just talking about it, like it's so savory, and then you smell the savory character, and then the terroir, and then the freshness, and there's
and you get stones, like you say cold, and you get hot stones. You get some I don't want to say dried meats, but
go ahead, say it. Cured meat. It does.
It has cured meats, a little bit of blood orange. It takes me everywhere. I mean, have you played that game called Fruit Ninja, where you have those fruits and you have to slice them? So it's a symphony in my palate.
Knives in my kitchen. It's my kitchen right behind us. I'm at home in Seattle, so no. But what's really amazing? You smell all those things that you're talking about, but then when it hits your palate, the wine is pure velvet.
Yeah, totally right? Velvet. Yeah,
it's like velvet. Okay, once again, it's my wine, but we're talking about my sensory perception about the wine, not how I want to sell the wine. I'm not selling wine. We sell everything we produce. The idea is like you smell all these things, and of course it's a 2017, so it's very young wine. But think about how that all within the nose and with the palate all come together after like 3 or 5 years, where it all. And all of a sudden, it's just like that. But because it's interesting, you get the nose, it's very intriguing. It hits the palate. It is silky and savory.
And seamless.
And when you swallow the wine, the only thing that happens is your mouth salivates.
And the throats, I don't know if the throat can salivate, but there's this salinity. There's this freshness in the closing. It's like what the Italians say, amaro. It's a pleasant bitterness. It's a pleasant. I don't know if it's the tannins, but it's something pleasant that makes you want to go for a bite of food or a second glass. I mean, it has a hook. It draws you back in.
Yeah. So like I said, I haven't had a glass of this for a couple months, and then probably the last time I had a glass of the King Cole was probably like an older vintage, because I've been making this wine since 2008, I think. And try it. I mean, you get a chance to try like 2008. It's like, whoa, it's so amazing. Once again, it's my wine. We're talking about it, and of course, I mean, I'm not going to say anything, not super positive about my wine, but this really was a conversation about, wine. Like, why did I do this? I want to do something close to the earth. I never made $50,000 US in my life until 2004. At that time I was, 41 years old, and I had a great, interesting life. I've done many cool things. I found my way to wine. I was able to start doing this, and the thing is, I always led with my heart, using some head, to make sure that I was going the right way. And in the end, I got to do this. So making wine like this, being able to make wine, being able to opportunity to have even a conversation with you, I mean, I've never been to Puerto Rico.
No, you gotta come, and
I will.
You will come.
My first time to ever come to Puerto Rico is by conversation with you here today. Okay, so if it wasn't for my wine, this is like the passport to the world for me. It's been like my calling card and the visitation. I am so fortunate to do this. I mean, I've been fortunate that, my business has been great. Had great accolades. I'm Charles Smith, the winemaker, and all that shit, or whatever everybody wants to say about that kind of stuff. But in the end, the thing is, I get to live a dream that I never dreamt. I get to continue to do what I love the most, which is make wine. I get to meet people like yourself. I get to have the opportunity to come to Puerto Rico and meet people and have a meal and have some fun and maybe drink too much wine and listen to music, maybe kiss a girl. And
we'll arrange all of that, Charles.
It'll really just be my daughter because she's 8, and I'll bring her to Puerto Rico. Isn't this great, Charlotte?
Do you guys like the beach? I mean, because we got some amazing beaches here. You would love it, I'm sure. Let me, to wrap up, go over the wines and then ask you 2 or 3 questions, and then we're good to go. So the first wine we had was this beautiful Chardonnay, balanced. It has that texture. I mean, it's not a light, but it's not an overpowering wine. It's right there in the middle where you want your wine to be. This is at Almacén del Vino, of course. Then we had this delicious Rosso, 70% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30% Sangiovese, made in the super Tuscan Bulgari style. This is a, fun screw cap, and it retails for about $15, which is ridiculous. And then this is a beautiful Cabernet Sauvignon, 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. You could have the whole bottle by yourself. It's beautiful. It's $22, 93 points, unbelievable wine at Almacén del Vino. And we close with, as Andres Lugo said, an iron fist in a velvet glove, King Cole. This is an amazing bottle of wine. This wine is about $100, $105, I think, but it can stand next to any wine from any part of the world that costs 2, 3, 4 times this. Thank you, Charles. 2 last questions. If I were to break into your house and go to your cellar, what are the wines you drink, that you buy? Not the wines that your friends gift you, or the wines. What would I find in your cellar?
Should I go get a bottle right now?
Show me something. Like, I want to know. I don't want to say that somebody's going to burglarize your house.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you just suggested that, so. Okay.
Let's put it another way. Let's say a friend.
False address. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a great idea. If you want to keep this going for like 10 more minutes, everybody that's on this call or watching this, go to your refrigerator or place where you have a beer, a spirit, or a wine, and bring it and join us in what we're going to do right now.
All right, show me what you have. Show me something.
It's going to take 2 minutes.
All right.
We have a musical interlude while we do this.
Oh, it's fine. I'll wait for you. I'll talk to people while you get something. Show me something that you drink that is not made by you.
That's pretty easy. I'll be right back.
All right, we'll be here.
Minute.
We'll be here, sir.
Wait. Okay.
We'll wait. So, my people, this is a real treat and pleasure. We're speaking to a wine legend who's also so accessible, so down to earth, so easy to talk to. I mean, this man should not be doing this. He doesn't have to. He's gotten the best reviews all over the world. His wines, he's had 100-point wines before, many of them north 95 points. I want to take this moment to really thank Donald Black, Andres Lugo, Cristina Teixidor, Almacén del Vino, Fernandez Hermanos, everyone who has always supported Wine News TV, a project that I do for fun. I don't monetize this at all. I do get, wine samples for the interviews. It's a good trade-off, I guess, because of the reach that we have. Salitre Wine, #legend. Yeah. Griselita, ¿dónde está? Here I am. Okay, my friends. So Charles Smith is going to show you what he drinks for fun, for pleasure. And this is the first. I always ask this question to my guests. I always ask, so if I was a burglar and I would come into your place, what would I find? Like, what wines do you have there for fun to drink with your family, by yourself? And for the first time, we're getting a reply, not only I guess, verbal answer, but we're going to see what he drinks. So a great winery, bravo, Andres Lugo. Yeah, Andres, ever since he came on board to the helm of the wine portfolio at B. Fernandez, he's done a fantastic job, Andres. That's right, hermano. We're waiting. God knows what Charles Smith is going to bring to the interview, but we really want to know what he drinks. I mean, this is a raw god. It's like asking, I don't know, perhaps Martin Scorsese, what movies he likes. Okay, yeah, this is good. What do you think is going to bring? You say va a ser Bordeaux or tasting room. What do you think is going to bring? Tell me. Grape or region. Go, quick. What do you think is going to bring? Syrah from the Rhone. What do you think he's going to bring? Do you think he's going to bring an Amarone from Italy? Tell me.
Into my house,
Burgundy. Okay. People are saying Burgundy. Andres Lugo says bourbon. You're going to bring bourbon. Oh, my God. This is getting... All right. Let's see. Okay. Some people here have said mezcal. Somebody said bourbon. Andres Lugo said bourbon. Rosé. Somebody said Burgundy. Somebody said Bordeaux. So let's see what the legend brings. Rosé. Saludos. Ruti Morales. Hola. Espero que estés bien. Cuando venga Charles Smith a Puerto Rico, vamos todos a conocerlo y a probar su vino. Beer. It says you're going to bring beer. Oh, I see some bubbles. Maybe some bubbles? I don't know. That's what you drink then, my friend.
No, that's what you
I saw something very similar to either.
So far, everybody is wrong.
Let's see what it is.
So I wonder what is everybody else getting to drink?
Everybody has been wrong so far?
What are they drinking? I suggested everybody go out and get something for themselves to drink. What's everybody drinking? Can you?
Okay, somebody says that you're gonna bring Danish cherry wine.
That'd be pretty cool.
Somebody here says that they love your Chard Sixto. A local consumer here from Puerto Rico. Oh, yeah, I've had the Sixto with Andres. The Sixto is beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, so...
Pitorro. They're saying you're going to have Pitorro. All right.
Okay. So, remember, if you're going to break in my house, make it worthwhile. Don't just make some toast and get a glass of tea or beer on the food.
Okay, so what would the burglar find? Let me see. I can't see for shit. It's blurry. What is that? No, it's not Bordeaux. It's, get it close. I've never seen... Gatinara.
From 19...
Oh my God. That's what you drink then.
Well, if you're going to break into my house and you're going to steal some shit, you might as well make it worthwhile. So, we're drinking a really incredibly beautiful bottle of Gatinara from 1964.
Oh my God, what a treat, what a pleasure. So you really go for the funky, rustic, smelly. Oh, beautiful, sir. I wanna toast with you. This times you hit the screen a little bit. So this is an honor that I will cherish for the rest of my life. You're having a Gatinara.
So I don't recommend breaking into my house because that would be really terrible. But if you did, come over at dinner time. Ring the bell. I'll open the door. I'll put a plate down for you, and we'll drink a bottle of something such as this, or something equally as good. So for me, coming from my house in Seattle, Washington, from my table, from my wine cellar, 1964 Gatinara Salud.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor. It's a treat. And hopefully we will meet in person. Your fans here in Puerto Rico will get to meet you as well, take pictures, sample your wines. And let me tell you, as a consumer, the way you maintain your price at certain levels is really, really something to congratulate you for. I mean, you could charge whatever you want with, your pedigree and what have you, but you make wines for the common folk and also you make things like this. And this can stand to your gatinada any day of the week, sir.
I appreciate that. But once again, we're coming to my house and we're stealing shit, so let's steal one of these bottles. So anyways, thank you for taking the time to have me today. And for all those folks that have decided to check this out for a few moments, I know it's just kind of this rambling conversation, but the thing is, we're talking about wine. We're talking about things that we enjoy. You learn a little bit about me. We learn a little bit about you. One day we can get together. You come visit me here in Seattle, Washington, or in Walla Walla, or in Puerto Rico. I'll come visit you one day if you want to come meet up with me. I greatly appreciate it. I get to travel the world. I'm a very fortunate guy. I love making wine. My wine's pretty good. And, I'm just happy to be here. So I just want to say thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Charles.
Eduardo, it's a pleasure. And it was fun.
And when you're here, I'm going to take you to eat that pig, some morcilla, some blood sausage, some pitorro, which is kind of our local version of moonshine, is this rum that's made in a very organic fashion. If you drink a bottle, you'll probably be sleepwalking for 5 days, but it's all good, my friend.
I've been on the sleepwalk for like 10 days. So,
take care, my friend. Thank you so much. Gracias. You rock, man. Thank you. Bye-bye. God bless.